Welcome to Leading Questions, where we talk about the pivots, the leaps, and the messy middle of change. I'm your host, Susie Gitzeg, a longtime social and content leader who's also in the middle of a big pivot myself. This season is about the people who are brave enough to bet on themselves, to leave comfort for possibility, to rebuild after disruption, and to find new meaning in what's next. Because sometimes the best way to lead is to start by asking a better question. Today's guest is Jen Newbill, a leader, coach, community builder, yoga teacher, and someone who's asked a question that many of us are facing right now. What kind of life do I want to create outside of the corporate world? After 28 years in corporate, 21 with the same company, she stepped into a new chapter built on purpose, creativity, and wholeness. So Jen, welcome to Leading Questions.
Thank you for having me.
So we're just going to jump in. We know that you've made a huge pivot in your life, leaving corporate, go out on your own and create something new. What does that feel like sitting here today?
I would say asking me today, it's great. I went to my yoga studio and practiced outside, and it was like 65 degrees, and I love flexibility.
I love it. And I think it's also like so important to be realistic for anyone that's transitioning out or considering another path. You don't take a step out one day and everything is amazingly sunshine and rainbows and butterflies every day. There's going to be ebbs and flows, just like Jen talked about. And that's important. So let's go back to when you were first considering leaving. Was this like a whisper? Was it a loud voice? How did you get to the decision to make such a big
Well,
change in your life?
I would say it started as a whisper, and then it started getting really, really loud and noisy to where I was thinking about it pretty consistently. I would say sometime around 2022, the whisper was, you've always thought about doing coaching. You're really passionate about helping to develop people. What is your plan? What are you going to do? And I listened to it. But I also just sort of took my time. And I think that's a takeaway that maybe some of your listeners might want to take to heart is, like you said, this isn't an overnight thing. This isn't switching a switch in your house or your closet off and on. Give yourself time to reflect and think about it. But when that voice got louder, I started having conversations with leadership within my organization about where is my spot moving forward. I think I might be ready. And they were good mutual discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the listening to your gut and listening to your inner voice, I know that there were probably a couple times in my last couple of years, we were at the same organization where I probably should have listened to a gut voice that said I was ready for something next, but I didn't. I didn't allow that voice. I shut down any internal voice that was happening. And the fact that yours started as a whisper, but kept growing until it was loud enough that you said it out loud to people that would, help you make change in your life is so incredible. I think a lot of us maybe dream about a life that you wake up and you go do yoga outside and you're doing something and giving back to others, but never make the leap. How does it feel like in your body on a day-to-day basis to be able to maybe live that life that everyone's sort of envisioning as a possibility for them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say in all reality, there are the good days and the not as good. There are days where I'm engaging with clients. I feel a good level of busy. I feel humbled by the experience. I'm learning a lot, and that's important to me. And then there are days where I'm like, what? How am I spending my time? What am I doing again? How am I making a difference? And then there are days where it's just really hands-on execution around the business. So I'm making some changes to my website and I'm partnering with somebody who's wonderful that's helping navigate me through that. So some days are business and you're going to need half a day or a day each week to just kind of put your business hat on. And that's what I felt most uncomfortable with. I'm not uncomfortable meeting new people, connecting, reaching out, being creative, being curious, coming up with ideas. Those are things that come naturally to me. It's the execution. And if you saw my Clifton Strengths report, you would see that my execution domain is a little lower than my strategic thinking. So sometimes you have to be intentional. And I think mapping out my weeks, and that includes my downtime, my time to practice yoga, my time to teach yoga, because I teach yoga as well now, is really important. So just having some structure, but also where are those flexible times and moments?
That's so important. I know like the first thing I did when I was out of my job was I was like, what is all this time? We're so used to Like the company that we came from, we were probably in back to back meetings all day long. And then we had hours of work and our brains were always thinking and churning. And then all of a sudden you're in this place where there's sort of a blank slate and you're the one that's deciding how and in what way you're going to spend your time and also be able to accomplish the goals that you're setting for yourself and your business. And it's like turning it on its head in some ways.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that people will notice when they leave a corporate environment, whether it's by choice or not. We know that some people are choosing to leave, and some people are like, I didn't know if I was ready, but I'm gone. What do I do now? You're going to start to tap into that nervous system, right? There's a vagus nerve that runs through your body, and it is connected to all of your organs. So you might notice some things like a shift in digestion, or maybe you have more energy, or, maybe you're able to exercise more. Those are real things, because when you're in those back to back to back meetings and you don't have opportunities for pause, I used to tell my previous boss, it's like code switching. I would go from a radically different discussion right on top of another completely different discussion, different topic, different people, different stakeholders, without any pauses, back to back all day. So you're like, what is going on with my brain? So you're going to have these opportunities to sort of flourish and tap into, who am I? How do I operate? What are my natural talents? What are my strengths? And so that part has been illuminating, a little scary, and a lot of fun.
So let me ask you a question. And I don't know if this is something that you felt or you didn't feel, but we were both in leadership. When you took a step away from a title and you had to build your own thing, what was that like for you? Did you completely feel like you knew who you were without a company saying this is who you are? And as you decided to build your own thing, what did that feel like?
I think you're tapping into something, Susie, that's really real for people. And that's that our identity gets really wrapped up into the company that we work for and the title
Absolutely.
that's on our LinkedIn profile and our resume. So I'll just be really candid. It's taken me some time to unravel myself from it. The reality is, I still have that incredible experience. I'm very proud of it. I still have relationships with people that either used to work at the organization or are still there. I'm very proud of those relationships. I'm very committed to them. But yeah, I'm changing. I'm evolving as a person. And I have to remind myself it's okay to have a different title. It's okay for my
Absolutely.
day to look differently than it did before. And I really like being my own boss. I am, even though I don't have other people I'm leading, I do like being my own boss.
What is the company that you're leading?
Started New Day Coaching and Consulting. I am a Clifton Strengths certified coach. So I work with individuals as well as teams on how to optimize the way they work through their natural talents. So understanding through the Clifton Strengths assessment what comes naturally to them, leaning into those natural talents and building them out into strengths, really honestly superpowers. Right. So if somebody is guided by relationship building or influencing, those are examples of Clifton Strengths domains. Don't spend time trying to be an awesome operational execution person. Find those people, partner with them, be very intentional about how you spend your time, and then lean into your strengths in a really productive, meaningful way. So I also offer fractional HR services to some of my clients as well. So if they need somebody to come in and be a strategist, I love that kind of work. Short-term projects are my favorite thing. So that's also part of my business.
Fantastic. And I'll say that Jen and I are doing some exchanges of work. She gave me a really amazing StrengthsFinder assessment, and it got me thinking as I'm pivoting about what I need to look for. And as I'm a person who always said, lean into your strengths and like whatever to the rest. And it's always nice to have that validated by someone who knows what they're talking about.
Yes.
Okay, Jen. So you told me that your leading question was, what kind of life do you want to create for yourself as you transition out of the corporate world? As you're building your life, what are essential pieces that you want to have in this new life that you're creating?
I want to have humility. I want to be open to learning from others. I want to be able to work closely with others. My number two strength is individualism. And it really explains a lot. So I have a lot of strategic thinking, but I also have individualism and connectedness. So I'm really interested in people and how they operate and how they work together. So I just really want to be humble in this journey and what I'm learning and the pace that I'm learning at. My learner is also number one. So I have to I have to put the brakes on and pause a little bit because I want to go get every certification on the planet. And I really am committed to Clifton Strengths because I believe in the power of people owning and claiming their strengths and using it in their everyday life as well as their professional life. So I'm really looking at how can I learn in a way that is helpful and meaningful to me. So leaning into my strengths as well as just, kind of letting things happen a little bit and not trying to be in control of everything all the time.
Ooh, those are like such important things and such hard things to do, but like starting the process with those goals in mind is so powerful. Did you have to unlearn any definitions about success transitioning from corporate to running your own business? Cuz success in the corporate world in some ways is very clearly defined. It's maybe you're climbing the ladder, maybe you're getting praise from leadership. Success running your own business looks different. So, what was
Yeah.
that like for you?
I will be really candid.
Yeah.
Money. I have learned that my value is very much tied around how big my paycheck was. And after being with the same company for 21 years, I got to a point where I was pretty comfortable. My spouse also works at the same company, and so we were just kind of like bringing in the paychecks. And I realized with that change, I have to think about my relationship to what I make, what I spend, what I save. It's changing. It's in the process of changing, but it's making me a better person. I'm really thinking about what I'm purchasing and why, and the value of material objects. You can start to go really deep on some of these topics. I highly recommend The Psychology of Money. It's a great book. The author has also been interviewed a gazillion times. So if you prefer podcasts, that's been really, really helpful resource to me.
It's so interesting because I had the exact same experience when I was in between roles. My husband does work in corporate as well, but all of a sudden I was like, wait, we got a lot of DoorDash. I did a lot of, did a lot of things that cost money that I just hadn't really what a blessed position to not think about those things for a long period of time. But then all of a sudden we had to think about those things and realizing that in some ways it was a trade-off. If you're starting your own business, knowing that the beginning times is going to be a place where you're building money and building resources. And I very much identify with the feeling of your paycheck in some ways being a representation at the time of your value. But part you said about being humble through this whole journey on both sides, it's about like letting go of ego, being humble, changing some of our ideas of success to get to a place that feels better for us.
Absolutely.
Was there anyone in your life that either didn't understand why you were making this change or wasn't supportive, or did you get a lot of support?
I got a lot of support. I was actually almost a little surprised that I didn't get any pushback. Everybody in my circle, my family, I have siblings, my mom, my husband's been a total rock. He's still at the same organization and he's like, "Yeah, you go." He's like, "You're going to figure this out. You're smart and I'm going to be here to help you." I've had a lot of cheerleaders on the sidelines, just like, "You got this. We believe in you." And it's been extremely helpful.
That's incredible. And I will say that I'm seeing a similar pattern in almost everyone I talk to. I have not talked to someone whose spouse was like, no, don't break out of the box. Like everyone has found partners that are really cheering them on as they're redefining what their life is going to look like and what a gift that is.
Mean, you build a life with someone, and at some point, you just want them to be the best version of themselves. And you
Absolutely.
know that if they're happy, you're probably going to be happier as well. So, in the long run, even though it's a big shift, the income changes, it could be a couple of years where there's a big shift in income. It's all worth it, because if you're doing something that you're passionate about and you have the time, the flexibility, the engagement that you choose, it could be so worth it to where your spouse will probably be much happier as a result of it.
You mentioned that people get married to their corporate brand and sometimes lose themselves. And I definitely identified with this piece. Was there any part of yourself that you felt like you lost that you were able to find again when you were on the other side?
It's a really good question. I feel like I'm finding. I'm in the process of discovering and finding. I also feel like I'm kind of, I'm falling in love with the Clifton strengths and I'm really embracing mine. And some of my strengths, I think, served me really well in corporate, and some of them maybe didn't.
Mm.
Right. And so I think there's something to be said for how you can leverage and use your strengths in a way that can work in any environment. But I feel like now I'm able to use them in a way that works best for me and what I'm doing moving forward.
So it feels like not that we weren't authentically ourselves in the corporate environment as much as we could be, but that you're really getting to discover what motivates you, what brings you joy, how you work best, and then put all of those strengths to use on a daily basis, which is like,
Yep.
that's really amazing.
Yeah, I think that when you're in an environment that's not your own and you have a leader and that leader has a leader and you're presenting, that's where the mask can kind of come on. And it doesn't mean I'm going to fully be a different person. It means I'm just going to kind of mask some of my thoughts or feelings or emotions around this because I want to be a team player. I want to collaborate. I want to partner. So I feel like that is a really common thing that can happen when you're working in teams or you're working for an organization. They're paying you and they're also telling you this is what we need you to do. And that can even include we need you to downsize a significant portion of your staff, right? So it's not just I'm working on a project and I'm not sure this is the priority. It's I'm letting people go. I think a lot of people probably listening to your podcast can relate where they've either had to let someone go or they've been let go themselves. And I think we're all getting really tired of it. So it takes its emotional toll on both parties. It's really, really challenging. And I don't plan on letting myself go. I plan on keeping New Day as long as I want to keep it. And then when I'm ready to not do it, it's like it's my decision. I'm good. So that's a good thing.
It's such a good thing. And I remember being so naive, and somewhere in the middle of my leadership journey, I was like, yeah, if I hope I go my whole career and never have to let anyone go. And I don't know if I'd ever be able to get through it. And of course, like right after that became seasons where I had to do that. And those were the most beyond the most difficult times that I faced in leadership. And trying to be a good and kind person, be as caring as I possibly could, while knowing that I had to execute on what the business wanted was wow hard. And
I mean, I talked to a number of people that were like, my digestion is just off. I don't feel good. I can't sleep. I've got this really nagging headache. Other health issues, they are not in people's heads.
no,
Again, that vagus nerve is connected to pretty much all of your major working organs. So if you're dysregulated or you're stuck in a fight, flight, or freeze, which can happen, not at every corporate organization, but it can happen, especially after multiple rounds of reductions and saying goodbye to people, you're not going to feel yourself. And you're also going to start to question some of your mental health. I mean, I say that, joking, but not joking. You're going to
absolutely.
feel maybe a little crazy because you're like, I'm not embodied. I'm not grounded. What is happening here? What is my role? Am I just a tool in this process? And that's where some people just say, I'm good. Goodbye. A lot of my clients have been in leadership roles and they're like, I just want to find an individual contributor job. I don't want to be a leader in this environment anymore. That says a lot.
It really does. I loved leadership so much, but you're right. If you aren't the one doing those things that feel in so many cases like the antithesis of like being a good leader, I don't think I slept for like 6 months
Yeah.
sitting with those decisions. And I knew, far before some of those decisions had to be made. If you're a person, I heard this from one of my leaders at the time, they said, if you're an empathetic person, this is a very hard thing for you. If you're not, if you're someone who really is just like, this is business, fine, end of the day, no biggie. But if you're a person that like deeply cares, and I did, and I know you did, and the people
Hmm.
that we associate with probably did, it takes a toll. It takes a toll. And there's no way it can't take a toll if you're a human being.
Exactly. So the good side of going out on your own is if you're curious about who you are, get ready to find out. Flexibility, you can make your day, day over day, different and productive depending on what your definition of productive is for that particular day. The downside is you're going to have a narrative that's going to maybe say some false things that are kind of nasty, like, what are you doing? You have no idea, or you don't have any money. What's your value or your worth to your household right now? Well, it's different now, but it's going to change again. right? These things happen. So you kind of have to be prepared for making a lot of adjustments to the way you operate day over day, the way you talk to yourself is is really important. But I will tell you the one thing I haven't changed is I'm still up out of bed by like 6:45 every day. I don't like sleeping. I walk the dog, I exercise, I get in front of my computer no matter how many meetings I have that day or don't have. I think that's important. It's just I might not be at my computer all day. Yay, that's great.
Yay. But
Yeah.
you're starting your day how you want to, and that
Yep,
means a lot.
exactly.
So a couple of lightning round questions for you, Jen. What
Okay.
what brings you joy on a daily basis?
So speaking of getting up in the morning, I got up this morning. It was extra early, not because I'm completely nuts, but because of the time change. So I was up before 6 and I had have my own yoga practice. And so I just kind of walk through my own warm up, my own flow and meditate and practice breath work. And then as my husband is getting the dog and coming out at a more normal hour at like 7 o'clock, I have already focused on me, my nervous system, my breath, my body. I've grounded and I'm like, good morning. I am literally in the best mood when that happens. I like starting the day off the right way whenever I can.
I have a morning routine that I only follow maybe, if I'm being honest, like a third of the time. But when I do, and it has yoga and meditation and journaling, like the day is so much better. I don't know why I don't do it every day, but it's a good reminder if you don't have a morning practice of whatever type. Mine is like 5 minutes of each. It only takes 15 minutes. Do it, Susie.
So worth it. I know and there are times where I don't do it too, right?
Oh, hear it.
I'm gonna be really vulnerable and admit that I'm not perfect. There are days, even as a practitioner, where I just get up and I'm like, I don't feel like doing anything. And I usually feel pretty crappy midday. Sometimes I can pause and say, well, it's midday, it's 4 o'clock. I'm gonna do some yoga nidra, which is basically a yoga nap. It's
Yes.
amazing and it reboots you for the late afternoon and the evening. So just try things out and experiment. It's going to be a little different. Some people they get up and they go for a run. Good on you,
They're
right? They all work. They're all methods that work.
fantastic. Okay, a couple more lightning round questions. Besides leaving corporate, is there another risk that you took in your life that you're glad that you took?
I've practiced yoga for over 30 years. When I started at my previous company in 2003, I had just started yoga teacher training. And then I started my company and I was like, oh, I don't think I can do both of these right now at the same time. So I quit. It sucks. I don't think of myself as a quitter, but 20 years almost to the day, right before I turned 50, I went back to yoga teacher training. And I remember I was like, am I too old?
No,
I made one of my closest friends, and she's like 6 years older than me. We were the senior gals of the group, but no one cared.
no one
No one
cares.
cared. And my physical body is still capable of a lot of stuff. It was more brain work actually than the physical part, which I was most nervous about. So I don't know that that's a risk, but I think it's just taking a chance on myself, even when I'm like, am I too old? Is it too late? Does this make
Yeah,
sense? I was
absolutely
still
makes sense.
working at our company in 2023 and I went through the program that year and it was one of the best experiences I've had.
Myself, I love that it was a dream that you had and that you did it anyway. Okay, last question. Is there a quote, book, or mantra that carried you through your transition that you go back to?
Ooh, these are all so good. I really like Ryan Holiday's, he's a master on, like, stoicism. He actually lives in Bastrop outside of the Austin area, but he has several books, he has a podcast, but he has a book that's, like, 365 days of stoicism, so I really like daily, brief, quick readings. I can either journal about it or it's something that I can set an intention on throughout the day. He also wrote a book called Stillness is the Key, which I cannot recommend more. It's amazing. But I've read a lot of him the last couple of years, and a lot of people think being a stoic means you don't have emotions, and that's not what it means. It's a philosophy about letting go of your ego, letting go of trying to control everything. It's really about, we talk about this in yoga a lot. It's about release and also accept.
Wow.
Releasing what's not serving you and accepting what exists. It's a lot harder than I'm making it sound. That's to me the journey of like life and being an adult and living on this planet. So I have an appreciation for stoicism as well as all of the 8 limbs of yoga and all the other things I've practiced.
That is incredible. And I think I'm going to go get a new book.
Awesome. I love
With that, I think we're going to wrap it up. So, Jen, your story is proof that identity doesn't end when you leave a job. Sometimes it actually begins, or in your case, you got to come back to the things that brought you joy all along. So, thank you for showing what's possible when we let ourselves become more than just our corporate job and the title that we had. And if you're listening and you've forgotten parts of yourself that liked art or music or movement or quiet, maybe it's your reminder to go find them. Until next time, I'm Susie Gitzeg, and you've been listening to Leading Questions. See you next time.